Good morning, everybody, all around the world, all the Colour in Your Life fans watching. We're very excited today for this mastermind session to have one of our featured artists, Alvaro, come and chat with us. So, Graham, I'm going to hand over to you so you can introduce this mastermind.
Yes, well, thank you, guys, and it's an absolute pleasure to have Alvaro Castanet on our webinar, and for you guys out there to talk to one of the great watercolour masters of the world. I consider Alvaro one of the great masters that we have around the world. And but I'll start off straight away, Alvaro, is that with all of the travelling that you do across the world, how many countries do you actually visit each year with your workshops and your touring?
Well, Graham, it's a pleasure talking to you. Let me tell you first, because last time I saw you was a few months ago, let's say. So it's a pleasure then having a chat with you again. Answering that first question of yours is, I mean, through the years, I visit lots of countries, but every year I would say maybe six, 7 countries. Looks like there is a lot traveling. But let me add a couple of things. I'm only traveling to the Northern Hemisphere, where I usually do my workshops and painting on site. And once let's say I'm in the old continent, let's say in Europe, but then I visit Germany or England or France or Italy. So you sum up, but it's short distances. So it's not what people think I'm all the time on an airplane, but around 6, 7 countries per year.
That's amazing. So what's your favourite place to paint on the planet, city or country?
Well, sure, exactly. Well, it's a difficult question because it's a conflict of interest. Because I love Paris, for instance. It's a great city to paint. You know, Graham, that I love to paint as many subjects. I like to paint street scenes and I love architecture and playing with the sound and the hustle and bustle of cities. So Paris will be one, New York, and then it's another one that I love, the energy of New York. But then I've been in Turkey not long ago, and I love Istanbul. I love the light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yes, the hues I can see. Anyhow, look, I love Venice, but the Venice is not a place that it's not a subject that it has to be exploited so much, even though it has good looks.
Mm.
Because what happens is, even though I mention it, it's a classic. Everyone paints Venice. So let's say New York, Paris. It would be my first choice.
But in saying that, as you've gone along, I mean, how long have you been a professional artist, and who do you feel have influenced you most of all as an artist yourself?
Well, listen, throughout the years, there were lots of people who has an influence of me, and we will take the whole interview to mention all of them. But let me just sum up the whole thing to one artist that I do appreciate a lot, and I love his painting, his art altogether. He's an American artist, Andrew Wyeth. And why I'm mentioning this, because you know, Brian, that my style of painting is kind of figurative. It's obvious. People see what the obviousness of my painting, and I trace a parallelism with him, with Andrew Wyeth, in a sense that. Here we are in front of an illustrator. Basically, his dad was a very famous illustrator in the United States. And if you see his painting, Andrew Wyeth's painting, is full of mood, full of ambience, full of magnetism and magic to his painting, being painting in a kind of an obviousness that is we all relate to it. So it's a good example of one of my favorite artists. You know, how to become. At the end of the day, how to transform our art into a more meaningful one, mm-hmm. into a more of atmospheric type of art. And he's a good example, Andrew Wyeth.
Fantastic. So as you're a very well established, recognized professional artist now with what you're doing, but there must have been a pivotal or a breakthrough moment for you as a young artist in your career. When did you really feel that you had sort of got to a place where you go, I feel that I'm confident enough now to be the man I need to be?
Yes, well, yes, Graham, is a popular and regular question. That I tell you something. You in the life of an artist, this is a process. You're born in it's a genetic manifestation of oneself. You're born with a desire of painting and establishing And then, so I dedicate my time since youthful and then into my teenage, when I was a teenager and then as a grown man to paint. But it's very difficult for me to recall the one day I woke up and say, oh, from now on, I'm going to be a professional artist. It was a silent transformation, and luck and coincidence of life and the happenings of life sometimes give you the answer that you take it unconsciously. Oh, I'm becoming better in this, or I'm doing that type of, and I mean, I'm the audience out there is receiving my paintings in a good manner. So then I dedicate more time to it. It's a process. It's a silent process. You don't. It's not like one day you wake up and you say, "I'm gonna be professional."
Mm.
So it's a transformation that occurs through walking through life. In silence, you become one day, you dedicate all the time of your life and out of the day simply to painful time because there's a requirement, because you love what you're doing, because there's an audience out there that you don't know them, but they are thirsty for seeing your paintings. So it's those sort of things that turn you into a professional painter.
Yeah, and in saying that, obviously with your busy schedule, what about your exhibitions and your gallery routines? I mean, how do you fit that into the whole process of traveling and teaching and then putting on a show somewhere?
Good. Well, look, then again, let me express this. It looks like I'm traveling all the time. And I tell you something, I probably out of 52 weeks of the year, I think 52 or 54, well, whatever, weeks out of the year, I probably conduct workshops and traveling maybe 14 weeks, maybe 12, 14 weeks all together. So you have to realize that then I have more than 35 or 30 something weeks to work for myself. So that's one thing. That's one thing. I need to clarify this because people think I'm all the time on an airplane. I'm not a painter. I'm simply a traveler who dedicate to workshops, and it's not the way. As I said to you, out of the 52 weeks out of the year, I'm only teaching 12, 14 weeks. The rest of the time I pay for myself and to grow as an artist, which is my main concern. I don't want to be recalled or named as a good teacher or as a guy that simply traveled the world conducting workshops. I want my kids to say, my dad was a very competent watercolor painter, let's say. So I'm focusing on developing my art. Yes, this is, I tell you what, Graham, I forgot the main sense of your question. What was
well, I mean, just putting exhibitions together.
Galleries. Look, what happened is in my early stages, and a few years ago, yes, I needed the galleries. I was selling all my paintings through galleries. Nowadays, with the way the world is connected, the way that people know what I am and they can be in contact with me, I tell you something, Graham, I prefer to sell my paintings not through exhibition, yes, not through galleries. I'm recognized as a competent watercolor artist, and I simply send my paintings. I show my paintings in a private fashion to clients, and I sell them like in this way. I mean, I have exhibitions. I have shared exhibition. I just had a shared exhibition in China. I'm organizing another exhibition in Europe. And obviously every year I have a solo exhibition because you need to show your work. You know what I mean? And to the audience, the way you are painting, your vision, your latest vision, and whatever else. So I do it in that purpose. And I have a solo exhibition. But galleries any longer is not a necessity for me. It's not something that I count desperately to have one, except, and I finish, except the ones that I like to exhibit my work to the public.
You've also, I saw on Facebook that you're also out here with two really good mates of yours that you've developed a fantastic friendship over the year, and we've filmed the three of you guys together, and that's Joe Zbukvik and Herman Peckel. So you've actually just come back from a trip with the boys, haven't you?
Yes. I have to say that we are actually the five amigos, if I want to put it that way, because we shouldn't forget that group, that they all have an extreme important presence in the group. It's not just Joseph Zbukvik or Herman Peckel, myself, but also there's Patrick Carroll from Sydney, a great artist and a great acrylic painter, and Nick Canosa as well. Nick is a barista, so it can be a semi-professional, but these guys has a huge influence on me. And yes, we developed a great friendship, you know, through the years. There's a common language we speak. Besides which is obviously the watercolor and painting and being an artist, that's a common language. Plus also out of that contact of us, obviously we develop a friendship because the symphony and the notes were there to become friends as well. So we don't compete. Well, there's always a little bit of competition between celebrities or people who paint in my medium and whatever, but there's a true friendship, and all these group and friends, we exchange point of views, we give critiques to each other, and I found that an amazing way of the induction of knowledge that comes to you is of extreme importance, to put it that way, by chatting to my friends who are painters. You see what I mean? So
yes,
it's a group, yeah, it's a larger group.
yes. I'd like to also ask you about your family. I see that you've got a very close-knit family with the two beautiful boys and your gorgeous wife, Anna Maria. What influence have they had, particularly your wife, on your art career and who you are as a man?
Well, look at my kids, and my whole family is emanating, emanating love constantly. We artists, we function, our fuel is love and romanticism. And my career function, if you want to make an analogy, like let's say fuel to a body, my fuel is my family. And I don't need to say how much Ana Maria, my wife, it has been her presence in my career, not as a great mother and what an important piece in our the family unit. Plus also in my career, extremely supportive wife, a wife that understood that was my desire in life, and she accommodates. Ana Maria is an architect, as you know, and she accommodates herself to simply help myself day in and day out in promoting myself and my career. So I only have recognition of her efforts, and thanks to Ana Maria, I am who I am nowadays.
Yes, of course. And in those travels with her as well, tell me more about the Asian market and what you feel is happening in Asia in conjunction to the fact that you're there, you're teaching there, workshops. What are the Asians doing, and how is that developing as well?
Well, I was very impressed with the level of watercolors in China. Let me tell you, I thought that when I first went there, I didn't know much about the level of watercolors in China. And when I went there, I was extremely impressed and surprised of the talent of the Chinese and Asian people. You know, if you want to see good watercolors, without any doubt, you can go to China and you see hundreds and hundreds of extremely good watercolors, which I do believe are superb. Sometimes I feel, to be honest with you, Graham, I feel sometimes why these people are calling me to come to paint watercolors here when actually, you know, there's always symptom or a feeling in artists. We always artists, we look up to other guys. We look up, like saying, "Oh, look at that paint and look at that one," and we always feel ourselves of being oh, I'm not as good as that guy. You see what I mean? It's a normal feeling that because you, in the process of you growing up as an artist, you go through that sort of circumstances of life, and actually. And I think that's very good because it makes you work harder. You understand what I'm saying? So plenty of time when I go to China and I see the work of the Chinese people there, I think, oh my God, why are they calling me when you guys, you have such an amazing watercolor painter. So the quality in China is amazing. Excuse me. The other thing is that I notice is the way in comparing this strategy of showing to the Chinese people how to paint watercolors, or my style and my visions and the way that I go about the medium. When you go to Europe or when you go to United States, and just establishing a difference, is almost one-to-one, or almost, let's say, workshops and tuition. It goes in a slow kind of pattern. Whether in China, when they call me there to paint, that's something that I noticed. There are hundreds of kids, young people, younger crowd than many, if you compare that to many other parts of the world where you see third age people and all that, very young crowd, and they follow you. You know what I mean? where you want to paint. They don't ask questions. You simply do your painting, and obviously with an interpreter, you can translate thoughts and points of views about your painting and your vision and whatever. But you go to a greater crowd because there are lots of young kids behind you, and and they don't need to paint. They just simply want you to paint. I find that very interesting. I find that as a great way of communicating knowledge and the induction of knowledge coming up in a better fashion, I believe, to them. Plus, there's another thing to it. This is one point. Second point is we go, a bunch of artists recognized around the world to paint in China. And when we come out of the lobby of the hotel, they select to the one they want to go that day. You see what I mean? Like, let's say we are 6 of us, and one time you got 20 or 30 kids behind you. Then the next one, these guys are going to let's say Joseph or Herman or whatever, or John Simon or whatever is in there. You understand what I'm saying? So they rotate. I find that way of transmitting watercolor and transmitting and sharing our vision and the way we paint extremely helpful, and with a greater audience to catch up, instead of going to when we are in Australia or Europe, that he only got 20 people and he goes almost in a secret fashion to 20 of them only. You see what I mean? And know the chance of rotating and saying, okay, I'm seeing today's Alvaro's painting, tomorrow I'm going to see Graham. Yeah. And the next day I want to see Natalie or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Graham, I find that also very interesting in China. Sorry if I extend myself too long, but something I wanted to say.
Sure, absolutely. I think part of getting to know you guys over the years and then watching what you do is that you are just as accomplished showmen as you are artists as well. I noticed that you're very animated when you teach, and I think that's part of getting the message across, is because people don't want to just learn, they want to be entertained as well, and I think that's what you do too.
Yes. I'm a good entertainer. Actually, before I became a watercolorist, I went to Hollywood to see if I could get a bit of chance to be an actor. I dance.
We can, we need a host in Montevideo.
I sing songs.
Anna Maria, we need a host in Montevideo. We're coming over.
Oh, that's funny.
But what I'd like to ask as well is, what advice do you have? Because there's obviously hundreds of thousands of artists that watch what we do these days in countries all over the world. What advice would you give to an up-and-coming artist? What are some of the steps that they need to make? I mean, we all have to make our mistakes, I admit that. But what are some of the things that they can do to be consistent in having a successful career as an artist?
Well, there are a couple of things I'd like to say. One thing that is important to mention is the fact that, please, to all the people who are willing to paint watercolors, it's a very elusive and medium, and it's very hard to catch up in the very beginning. So please, don't be depressed, or don't think you are not suitable to paint watercolors, because you are. Watercolors, what requires a great deal of practice. And one advice that I always say to my friends and students and whatever people around me, it is as a beginner and as a willing to catch up how the medium functions, you should be painting always a small painting and a big brush. You need to promote that contradictorial approach in order to grow up as a painter in shapes, in brushwork, and many factors. And the other thing is, I know I do workshops. I know that I do have videos of how to paint. But let me tell you frankly, Graham, one of the main things, eventually, the young people and students who are willing to become a good painter is actually one day going on their own. Painting on site is important, very important. That's a turning point in everyone's career, especially with this fabulous and instant medium and spontaneous medium as watercolor is. And secondly, it's good to follow. It's good to follow an example. It's good to follow, let's say, Alvaro Castañer. But you don't want they themselves. They don't want to use my clothes. You see what I mean? Or they don't want to dress like Alvaro Castañer. So eventually, they have to go on your own. And going on your own is the real way of funding themselves and how they are. You see what I mean? Because they love themselves. They want to be them. They don't want to be a follower. And you understand what I'm trying to say. They don't want to dress with my clothes. They want to dress with their own choice. You see what I mean? And so my third advice, it is actually, listen, guys, go on your own. Be a follower for a little while. You go to workshops and you try to copy that, which is actually, I'm promoting that. You know, you need to copy a leader for a while. But eventually, if you really want to grow up as an artist and you want to be a successful one, you have to show to the world your own vision and your own fingerprint. And the only way you can do that is if you go on your own. You see, if you paint for yourself alone, and have and make and give yourself two questions: what's wrong with my painting? How can I do them better? Answer that question to yourself in silence. You talk to your paintings. So this is frankly my advice.
Fantastic advice, Alvaro. It really is. And I know that you're only over here for another week, and you go back to Uruguay to your home over there. But I really, really appreciate and thank you for spending the time with us today. As I said, we have hundreds of thousands of fans these days, and a lot of that's because of you and because of the boys as well. Those shows literally have helped us skyrocket to where we are as well across the globe. So we really want to thank you for being part and parcel of who we are as well. And hopefully at some stage in the future we can catch up again and maybe do the Three Amigos 2, which I think, just because the first one was absolutely fantastic. But and to you as well, Ana Maria, thank you so much for everything that you do as well, and holding the camera today. That was much appreciated.
Thank you. I hope I've done a good job.
You did a fantastic job. And then we'll keep in touch on Facebook, and you guys have a very, very safe trip back overseas again as well.
Good on you, Graham. Lovely chatting to you again.
Thank you, Graham.
I said you'll be happy, mate.
Thank you. You too, sir. Thank you very much.